All right, guys. This is in response to your question, okay, about how to take um, body measurement. Okay, the one we did in the first practical was with a mannequin, but I want to demonstrate it with a real human being. All right. Um, so watch. Okay, we are going to run everything right now. Okay. I'm going to use him for this demonstration. All right, so instead of facing him as said in our tutorial, I am going to be by his side just to show you how this thing is done. So let's begin. Now you want to take a client's measurement. You run your tape from this point, okay, from this point. You can see the point aligned with the armhole. You run it, you hold it down and run it to this point, okay, that aligns with the armhole. Okay, you can see I'm still holding my tape at this point. Now you mark it and bring the beginning of your tape to this point. All right, now after doing this, you need to note how many inches that shoulder length is. Now you didn't remove your hand from here because you want to note the point where the sleeve will begin from. Now our sleeve will start from this point where the tape is. You will run it to his the point where his arm join the finger points, okay, like this. At this point I have 22 and a half. Okay, now the next thing to do is to run your tape around the person's arm. You run your tape around the person's arm and give like an inch allowance, okay, so that it will be free. Now this is for a long sleeve shirt. To do this is for a long sleeve shirt, but for a short sleeve you will want the circumference, okay, round the arm here to be a little tight, all right, so that it can grip. Now you won't need to give that 1 inch allowance, maybe half inch or quarter inch allowance, so that it can be smart around that point. Now the next thing is run your tape around his wrist to know the circumference of the wrist. Next is round the neck. Round the neck. You give an allowance of half inch or quarter inch so that the neck area can be free. Okay. Next thing is round the person's bust or chest. Okay. You can see there should be some good allowance for the person to feel good in the shirt or whatever you're making for the person. All right. Next thing is the length of the shirt. You run it from the side of the neck, down to a particular point that you feel is comfortable or your client feels is comfortable. Okay. Now, this is for a top. We are going to I'm going to demonstrate how to take measurement for a trouser. Okay, first and foremost, either a male or a female, for a trouser you need to run your tape around the person's waist. You run your tape around the person's waist and make sure that when you run it is the exact waist. You don't pull the tape too much, you don't loosen it too much. Exact person's waist, because when you make the trouser, the person should be able to wear it with or without a belt. Now when you do this, you note the number, then you bring your tape down. You bring your tape down to the hip point. This is our hip point. Now before you do this hip, you tell your client to open his legs a little bit. Open your leg. Open. All right. We can all see how he has opened his leg. All right. Now, this is because you won't want the trouser to be too tight on the person. You want some allowance around this hip area so that the person can freely move or sit down or raise his or her legs. Okay. Now, after taking the hip point, the next thing to do is to measure the person's lap. Okay. You run your tape around the person's lap. At least there should be a 1-inch allowance around the circumference of the lap. Now, if you want it bigger, good and fine, but for a trouser to be smart on the person, at least 1 inch. Then, after doing this, you come down to the ankle point and then you measure the wideness of that point that you want. Normally, it is smaller than the lap area. Okay. Now, from your ankle here, you measure from the ankle to the person's nail point, to the person's nail point, and then you can also run your tape round the person's nail.